looking at it, there was 2 to 3 times more than manually loaded, and these guys are busy. The job that was on the robot used to take just over a week to produce, and now it's being done in 3 days. They're a fantastic company that are always looking ahead and how to improve.
Welcome to the MTD podcast. I'm Gio and Lyndsey, hosting today's show, a passionate engineer and a proud member of the MTD team. Today I'm at Wye Cylinders in Hereford, a company I haven't visited for many years, so it's great to return. We are looking at fully automated processes, and they didn't have many of these processes back in the day when I visited. We're looking at unmanned running and reducing cost per part. I'm joined by 4 guests today, the most I think that we've ever had in one podcast. Firstly, James Barnes, thank you for having us here today, and thanks for your time and hospitality.
That's our pleasure. It's good to see you again after so many years.
It's great to see you, and I'm looking forward to discuss these new solutions and processes that you've got in place. Secondly, Ashley Page from Hydrafeed. Now, this is the second time we've done a podcast for you in a short period of time, so welcome back to the MTD podcast.
Thank you.
Becoming a regular?
Yeah, I'm a pro now, yeah.
And thirdly, another face that I haven't seen for many years, but great to catch up today, Brian Edmondson from Mazak.
Hi Gio, good to see you again.
Good to see you too. You had a good day?
Had a great day, yeah.
Great to be on the road with MTD.
What else can I say? Yes.
And then last but not least, the one and only Lyndsey Vickers.
Hiya Gio, how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Not too bad. We're actually sharing the mic, so it's quite awkward.
I thought that's where this was going.
We almost kissed, but it did not happen. I don't think our other halves would be too happy.
Apparently, you let someone kiss you in Ireland, didn't you, Lyndsey, when your other half was with you? You were telling us last week.
This did happen, and that's a story for another day. But yeah.
So we've totally digressed there, but yeah.
Set the standard already. Good to see you.
But getting back on point, it's been an absolutely fantastic day. We've been downstairs filming in one of your facilities today, looking at the latest automated cell that Mazak and Hydrafeed have worked on collectively. And this is not the first. You've got a lot of Mazak machines, and you've got another RoboJob cell in this actual building that we're in now. So it's something that's been evolving and growing over the years. Firstly, to you, James, I'd like you to tell our listeners, a little bit about the evolution at Wye Cylinders, what you do, about the kind of parts and the industries that you service, and how this automation has transformed your business.
Yeah, that's no problem, Joe. Wye Cylinders is a hydraulic cylinder manufacturer. It's been going since the 1960s, I believe. The automation side of it has always been in the back of our minds up until probably just when I started here just over 20 years ago. We were running predominantly Mori SL, so it was all hand-loaded, all very manual. Some of the work is very, very heavy, so that's where eventually led us to our first robot machine on the shaft machining. Some of those shafts are really, really heavy, and to have a guy stood there day in, day out, loading and unloading was bone-breaking. So we looked down the automation route more for that on the basis of the operator health and safety more than the lights out capability to start with.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some progression, if that's the right word today, and you've told us about the old processes, the old machines. What was the challenge presented to Hydrafeed and Mazak when kind of, what did you present? What was your outcome? What was your goal? What were you looking to achieve by introducing these new innovative automated machining and automation solutions?
Well, really, we need to keep the spindles turning. That's that old age tagline, isn't it? Really, but to do that, staffing issues was a bit of a problem. Getting the skills in the right places. We've got a great bunch of guys here, but we couldn't always have them in the right place at the right time. So having that automation has freed them up to move across to set the other machines that need setting.
Is it reduced the amount of people you employ?
No, it's actually increased it.
Wow. And it's not only increased the amount of people you employ, it increased your manufacturing facilities, because you've got 3 different sites or 3 different buildings, so it's increased your output.
Yeah, started on the 1 site, now we're currently on 3 sites, which is unbelievable.
So it's made you into a bigger business.
Yes.
Moving on then now to Ash and Brian. You were presented with a challenge, and by the sounds of it, we're going to find out what the outcome is. But by the sounds of it, you've already exceeded expectations. Ash, let's start with you. What was your challenge? What did you have to overcome when you introduced the robo job at Wye Cylinders?
So the two that the guys have got, one is, as you say, sort of 1.5 metre max, 80 mil diameter, something along those lines. So it's a fairly decent shaft that you can have into the system. As Jim says, the repetitiveness of getting that automated with a man was difficult. One was because of that, the actual weight of it, but more so when you come to use the robot and it gives you another 3-4 hours at the end of the day, that really does output more. And I think looking at it, there was 2 to 3 times more than was manually loaded. And these guys are busy, and they're a fantastic company. They're always looking ahead and how to improve. So the challenges that they gave us weren't too difficult, I wouldn't say, but it was more to get the right solution for them.
Is it a bespoke product that you've got, or is it just like a standard one that you can just tailor to different machines?
Yeah, you tailor it. So you tailor the payload, you tailor the size of your parts based around what we select. But yeah, it's scalable, if you like.
And it's quite interesting because you've chosen, of course, you've got the machine, you've got the Integrex, but there's something quite unique about the Integrex in terms of the tool changer. Why is that important to a company like this, and why does your solution fit?
Well, of course, a tool changer allows you to change tools in cycle. It enables sister tools. It enables a lot of probing, and that actually gives you a lot of better steps towards that stable process. And we're able to fit our products around the build of the machine. So what that machine looks like. So the tool changes on the left. Is it on the right? Where's the control? We can configure the cell to suit what the machine looks like.
Oh, I see. So you can change things around. So it's almost like you've got a space and you can tailor it to how, different machines that fit, basically.
Yeah, bottom line, as long as the robot has got reach, we can put them anywhere.
Okay. Can I just ask you a question, please, James, as well? What are the parts you're making? Because, you're not a subcontract machine shop. So in terms of batch sizes, just give us a bit of an understanding of what it is that you're producing for the industry.
Yeah, we'll say we make hydraulic cylinders, so it's mainly turn parts that we're making. There's some milling, but obviously that's a different process than we're looking at the moment. But batch sizes can be from as little as 10 to maybe 1,000. But the strength of the Integrex and where the robot is sited on this cell, there is still room for the operator to get in to actually use it as a manual machine, should there be a job outside the envelope of the robot. So it's not tied up to just be an automated solution.
I mean, I'm going to move on to you now, Brian. It looks like a Mazak showroom. It looks like it looks like you've swapped across from your previous machine tools, and you kind of swapping every single machine with Mazak. Why did they choose Mazak?
Well, I think that's a question for James, really. But from what I can see is, there's been a good partnership here between the customer and the supplier, which is ourselves, and I think the support that we've given after the machine's been delivered is what secures us that future business. I mean, here we've been very fortunate, and we're very grateful of being able to be the only machine tool of choice to look at this particular application.
And what technology did Mazak offer that you believe was the right solution for Wye Cylinders?
I think in this particular instance, we've introduced the first Integrex. So this is the first multitasking machine, which is something I think previously has been considered, but they've gone for more production biased machines because we've got twin spindle, twin turret, gantry loaded machines here, which have done a very good job. But here we've taken those machines are more focused on cycle time. So with this machine, it's less about the cycle time, but more about the throughput. So when we was presented with this opportunity, we wasn't so much focused on the cycle time. This was about achieving the end result, which was a certain number of hours unmanned, which I believe was 14 hours, which we contractually signed up to, and a certain amount of throughput to achieve every shift, week, month, and so on.
And how many hours unmanned running are you actually achieving, or what?
Well, I mean, we've managed to get 24 hours round the clock.
So you've exceeded
We've
expectations.
exceeded expectations, and we've exceeded the what was stipulated in the order. So, and that's working alongside people like Ash and Hydrafeed and our other suppliers to really give that stable process that Ash mentioned. That is the critical part of any automated solution. It's got to be a stable process that's reliable. And ultimately, the customer's confident, because the expectation is you're just going to let the machine run, leave it unattended, you're going to come back and you've got a load of parts that are within spec, which is why we was quite adamant and persistent about having the on-machine measurement, which was something that was not currently on their previous machines. But to have that in-cycle probing, we know that we're consistently going to be able to produce parts that are within spec rather than automate.
Consistency.
Yes.
I love the fact that the cycle time has gone up ever so slightly, because it just shows that that's, sometimes that's not what we need to concentrate here. It's almost like you've done that, however, the flip side of that is compensated.
You're right, and the cycle time loses its significance because it's the throughput, that's what we're getting. We're looking at machine utilisation. These are things which we didn't have.
Keeping that spindle turning.
Back to what James said earlier on.
Ash,
Yeah, I think as well, Rich mentioned, managing director, that the job that was on the robot that we were looking at, so the billeted job on the Integrex, used to take just over a week to produce, and now it's being done in 3 days.
Yeah. Wow. Well, let's get back to you, James, quickly. I probably should have asked you that question. Why Mazak? Why Hydrafeed?
Well, why Mazak, why Hydrafeed? Quite a good question, that really, isn't it? That's why you asked it. It gives me a bit more thinking time, doesn't it? No. If I start with the Mazak side to start with, from the first machine we've had such good after-sales support, app support. We've had problems. It's all been sorted very well, very quickly. And then upskilling all our workers is key to us. We want everybody to be able to do every job.
That's a massive point. I mean, we've been talking about automation for a long time now, and especially over the last 3 or 4 months, we were at the Fanuc Open House for a week, and we've been to Hydrafeed UK, and it's a common common subjects that always arises, and it's usually for a negative reason. It's usually a barrier to entry that needs to be broken down. So you're actually upskilling your employees due to automation. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
How? Explain how.
We've just got such a good gang at the moment that they're all very keen. They all want to. Once they'd heard we're having a new Integrex, everybody was a lot of money. But once we told them, well, look, we're going to be getting all these extra lights out hours, they would think, oh, okay, I'd like a bit of that. Can I learn that? Can I go on this? So we're just because the control is basically the same on all the Mazak machines, it's very easy to transfer those skills from one machine to the other. Controls
and simplification of programming. We touched upon it at Hydrafeed a few weeks back when we visited you, Ash. The Mazak control is kind of across the shop floor now, so people get used to that particular control. Firstly, Ash, and then Brian, how important is this simplicity of programming?
Huge. I think if it's not simple and easy to use, you'll find it difficult to train people. You'll find it difficult to keep using it over and over. It will become something that just gets dusty and kicked in the corner. The simplicity of using it, and you can get trained on the RoboJob systems in a matter of hours, and you're familiar with what you do. It asks you a series of questions, and you fill in the answers.
So it shouldn't be a barrier to entry. The fear of the unknown or the fear of programming automation should certainly not be a barrier to entry. Now, same question to you, really, Brian.
Well, I think to echo what Ash said, it's all about keeping it simple, and I think the technology is becoming more and more advanced, so it allows the operator to input information very easily and to now give visuals, and you can see exactly what you're doing. And I think we'll have quite a few conversations with companies that are looking to invest in Mazak, and we look at the control, and it is that simplicity of, I believe the machine will do exactly what we say it's going to do. How are we going to get somebody to run it? And we can take care of that. We can train people, we can put in the support to bring operators up to the right skill set, so then they can program and operate the machine. And I think from having we're in quite a unique position, Mazak, because we have our own control that we've designed and developed, and it's many generations on. So we have the conversational side of it, but then we also have the ISO, G code, M code type programming as well, which is obviously standard for the CAD CAM. I think probably an advantage that you've seen, James, is the time it takes to program the Mazak now compared to previously on the outgoing machine.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. The previous machine, you could be programming for up to a day on a complex part, whereas on the Mazak Smooth Control now that's on the Integrex, an hour at most. So it's a massive difference for us, massive difference.
It's so good because I always say, like, case studies, you can't get a better review than someone who's actually proven out the process. Let's just go back to a point that you made earlier, James, is about money. You were like, everyone's really excited. This is an expensive machine. Everyone wants to get onto the machine. But as a company, you told me that you're not the biggest of companies. It's a big investment for you. But you've been quite pleased about this. And we're not going to sit here and talk pennies and pounds and everything like that. But, what would you say, as Gio says, is a barrier to entry? What kind of made you go, yeah, this kind of ticks my boxes. We can do this as a company of our size. And I know that you're very happy now. So it's almost like, then what's the next step?
Yeah, you're correct. We're more than happy with the machine now. But the initial thing when we said, right, we've got to replace this old machine, and we were looking at the numbers that were coming in and thinking, can we support this? And there were several occasions we thought maybe we can't. But it got to a point where we thought we've got to do something. We got Brian help with some cracking finance deals and put lots of things in motion for us in that respect. And then the machine came, and as soon as we got the machine, it was up, had all the training up and running. We literally hit the ground running. The first week, I believe, we did nearly 100 hours lights out running,
Wow.
which was unbelievable for a brand new to us machine. None of us had any experience with the Integrex machine before. We were just over the moon with that. So it was within the week, we were thinking, can see another use for another one of these now.
Within 1 week, you're telling us that you're thinking, we need another one of these machines. Have you, honestly, you can honestly say that is a pretty big statement to say for a brand and a company, because you've just gone, and I know the answer. Do you wish you did it sooner?
Yeah. Oh, we should have done it sooner. There's no wishing. We should have done it sooner. Yeah. Probably 5, maybe 10 years ago, maybe.
Don't beat yourself up about it, James.
I'm trying.
Actually, within 3 weeks, they did order one.
They've all been dancing on the shop floor, to be honest with you, with excitement.
In Japan, they do say, don't they, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, and the second best time to plant a tree is today. You once you've got something that that works, you've got to invest to become profitable. I just want to go back to the programming.
Very deep, Gio. Very deep.
I'm not as stupid as I look. I want to go back to that programming, James. You say that it used to take a day potentially to program a complex part, but now you're programming it in an hour. That's massive, and that's one of them kind of time savings that you've not even allocated for, really. The spindle's down whilst you're taking a day to program potentially, and then you've got to prove that program out, which again, if you're not confident that you've programmed it correctly, is even more time having to prove it out. I was talking to Rich earlier, and he said to me that this process has not only exceeded expectations in regards to the 14 hours, 24/7 hours that you're actually getting now, so it's massive, nearly doubled really. But there's loads of other benefits that you didn't even realise that you were getting. Can you talk us through some of the other added on benefits that has really just kind of blown you away by the sounds of it?
Well, you're definitely right in the programming time it saves. The previous machine, again, was all program on machine, as we do on most of our machines, all on machine programming. So the machine was down, then proving it out. The beauty of the Mazak system is you've got the virtual machining. So the couple of bumps that you might have, they're only virtual ones, which saves an absolute fortune and keeps the machine in spec and keeps the maintenance team happy as well. Then, so but yeah, the setup times, that's another one. The previous machine, you could be 3-4 hours setting a fairly simple job up, whereas now it can be done in a little over half an hour. So just the pure time savings there are phenomenal.
One benefit that Rich did say to me was from the gantries that you're using currently, the capacity that the gantries have got with volume of parts, because the robot does have that much more. the robot machine will run longer than the gantry. So the gantries would run for another 3-4 hours once you've all left, but you'd walk into the morning and then you've got to set every single machine again. So it actually takes you time to get up and running. So you're setting all the machines all at the same time, whereas the robot's got that much more capacity. It will run overnight for another few hours, then ready to be topped up once the other machines have been set. So
I think the other thing is, in this particular case, it was floor space, wasn't it? It was quite important. So if we'd have gone with our Integrex gantry option, it would have been quite a huge machine. So I think we've got a lot of capacity on a very small footprint here with the Hydrafeed system.
I mean, the benefits and the USPs just keep reeling off, don't they? And this is quite uncommon. Usually, you get a new installation, you get loads of teething problems, you never quite get or exceed at least expectations. This is a really, really great story, really. It's a fantastic story. For you're an adopter of automation. You adopted automation many years ago, albeit not this particular solution. For people that have not adopted automation yet, what would be your advice, James? I mean, people listening to this podcast are probably thinking that we're making this up, and we're not, are we? It's true. The results that you can get are just phenomenal.
It's for us. It's a massive good use of our skills that we've got. I've said before, we've got a really good skilled bunch of guys working for us now, but it means their skills can be directed where we need it, when we need it, rather than just loading a machine all day. And it makes it much more interesting for them. Much more interesting.
Could you? Sorry.
It's Gio and I bumping heads again. No, you go.
I can see the kiss is coming.
Could you still make money as a company if you didn't automate?
No.
Would you still be here
No.
as a company if you didn't automate?
No.
That's the end of the podcast, everybody. My question really was just the fact that you go to Mazak, and then Mazak have system partners that they can work with. Is that easy? Have they taken all the hard work out of it for you? Because you've got a problem, they're there to find you a solution. So is that who do you pick up the phone to Mazak, and it just goes from there?
Pretty much so, yeah, pretty much. Give Brian or all the apps guys a ring, and they liaise with Ash, or we go direct to Ash as well if we've got any problems. Any problems are sorted very quickly, and everyone works so collaboratively together.
But it's nice because it's not like you're going third party. You feel like you can just pick up the phone to any supplier here, and you get your answers.
Yeah,
that's a real plus point, because people do say different things. Whereas here, you've got quite a nice close relationship, haven't you?
Yeah. I had a little problem with a robot the other week, and rang Hydrafeed up for a bit of support. Everybody was busy, weren't they? Next thing I know, Ash is ringing me back, talking me through it. So
that's what you need.
Problem solved within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
We were talking about return of investments as well, and I'm going to go to Ash and Brian on this one, and then maybe come back to you on that one as well, James. But kind of, when you're looking to buy a really expensive machine such as the Integrex, you get what you pay for.
It's not really expensive.
I would challenge that. Have you bought many? It is a perception, and I think this is about managing that perception.
High-end, high technology.
Yeah, but it's not the lowest cost, I'll say that. But what it gives you is a lot more than a conventional type machine, because this is multiple machines on one platform.
You didn't let me finish. What I was going to say is it's regardless. It doesn't matter how much you pay for that investment if you're going to get your return on investment. And by the sounds of it, you're getting all of that technology and your return of investment instantaneously, or pretty much instantaneously. It's paid for itself, and you're moving on to your next one straight away, and you're ordering your second one. Same with the robo job that's in here, Ash. You've got one in here, and then you've got the second. It doesn't matter how much something costs if you get the return on investment. Is that a safe assumption? And it's not expensive, but some people might think it's out of their price range, Brian.
I think so. You're right, but it's. It is all about return on investment. It's about putting that process together to make sure the customer gets that return on investment. Mazak's in a good position where it's got a lot of resource available, and we've got some outstanding relationships with some of our supply partners. So we can bring everything together to make sure that, like James said, when it lands, it's up and running very, very quickly. But again, it's such a huge portfolio of machines. It's about choosing the right machine, because an Integrex isn't necessarily for everybody. but it is a very, very flexible machine platform. There's not much you can't do on Integrex, and the range is so vast, it's about selecting the right machine for you.
And Ash, same question to you really about return on investment. You must get asked this all the time when, again, it's not expensive because you get the return of investment, but it's still a lot of money for people. So how do you justify their spend? Obviously, once they've purchased it, they'll never look back and they keep buying and investing.
A key thing definitely is, as Brian's pointed out there quite well, that it's about what machine it's coupled up with, and the Integrex really does have the capabilities to, as Brian said, it's a lathe and a milling machine in one, and you can. There's a lot of automated milling machines, isn't there? But you don't get a finished part from it. There's still a second op, and there's other sort of pallet loaders out there, but you need your fixtures, you need your bits and bobs. So return on investment, yes. Again, it goes back to how you use it and how much you use it. But certainly for these guys, it's months.
So the big point here really is if you're spending or going to buy a high-end multitasking machine where you can do the job all in one, you don't really only want to be using it for 8 hours a day on a one-day shift. You want to be using that and fully utilising that investment to be able to use it for 20, make it work. You've paid a lot of money for that investment. You want it to be running 24/7. So automating is the key, isn't it, James?
Yeah.
I'm going to say, well, I think we talked earlier on, didn't we, about you could almost automate every Integrex out there to some extent because it's such a flexible machine platform that why wouldn't you if you could? If you can automate it and get that lights out and you can get that through the night running and you can set the machine up to run on any kind of job over the weekend, well, then that's the payback on the automation.
We spoke earlier, didn't we, Brian? I remember 10 years ago we'd go into the engineering technology at Mazak, and basically, you'd see maybe an automation solution on one machine out of the 20 machines that are being exhibited. You go to a Emo Encore now at Mazak in Worcester or any exhibition, machine tool exhibition, all machine tools now have got an automated solution on them. How seriously, obviously it's very serious, how seriously has Mazak took it and how have they evolved their product portfolio to accommodate for automation?
I think when you look at the latest line of Integrex, you can see the design is to be more adaptable and suitable for automation. So we've got a flat front design on the machine now, which allows you to put the robot pretty much wherever you want to put it. The tool magazine is loaded from the back rather than at the front. And then when you look at the 5-axis machines, the trunnion is, in a couple of cases, that we have a C600 variaxis and the CV5 500 from the UK factory. The trunnion's rotated 90 degrees, so then you can automate from the side, but you can still have an operator run it. So you might want to run it with an operator in the daytime and set it up for a long run over the night or over the weekend. So I'd say the machines are becoming more suitable for automation and for retrofitting of automation. And I think you just mentioned when you go to our open house events now and you see the general theme when you go to a lot of these exhibitions is automation is such a prominent part of that. And I think, again, Mazak, because in the UK we're the HQ for the European operation, so we can see the amount of automation that happens within Europe and what we've got here. And I think that I'd be right in saying this, Ash, that there's more automation, or the perception of automation is maybe more open in Europe than it has been here previously. But I think that perception is changing, and I think maybe it's changing with the way the world's been for the last 2 years has probably turbocharged that. But yeah, we're certainly changing our thinking to become more open to automation.
I mean, I could go on, Ash, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, COVID has accelerated the demand for automation, definitely, and we see new inquiries, tentative inquiries every day.
Just kind of one of the last questions then, I guess. For each of you, what is it that sometimes you come up against? James, yours will be different because these guys are in a different position to you. But, sometimes you go somewhere and you go, right, that you're saying a statement and you've said it 100 times before to a customer. What is that statement maybe that, why aren't you automating? Is there something that you could tell us now that could teach somebody or maybe change somebody's mind as to why to automate? We've just given it a huge success story, but there's got to be something that you've said 10 times in a meeting over and over again and really maybe just for the greater, wider world to see.
I think one of the things that I've been repeating myself more and more, Lyndsey, is that automation not necessarily has to be high volumes of a particular product, which I think again has been the perception that I need to be doing a big batch quantity of a product, or I need to have a particular product where I just waste away a lot of material. Now I think automation has become much more adaptable, where you can have multiple billet sizes, for instance, and the robot can actually change the automation in some instances. So change the work holding automated in some instances. Again, it's just becoming more adaptable, and that's something that I've been saying is it's not all about high volume.
Ash, we keep bumping heads.
Just need to get it over with.
I was just going to say, actually, I thought that, changing work holding, we want to do a video on this for MTD and Mazak production. You've got the Hydrafeed tower, which is an absolutely fantastic solution that we've not touched upon today, but it's utilising the height of a factory, not the floor space, which is one fantastic feature, but also it gives you that flexibility that you've just mentioned there, to be able to change the work holding as well. And Ash, that's it. Go on, Lyndsey.
Yeah, no, it's just really, what are you hearing in the industry that you'd say to people?
I think it's definitely who you're talking to. So a company that makes their own products, you should automate because you need to put margin back into your own product. If you run 24/7 and you don't automate, you literally you need to.
Yeah, to stay
you
competitive.
must. Yeah, and it really is as blunt as that. But again, it does go. You see some customers with banks and banks of machines opposite each other, and there's certainly opportunities to be able to say, well, how do you plan your workshop? But yeah, I mean, each person's individual, but certainly those two, and what Brian said about the flexibility of the automation.
James, you're on the flip side of it, so it's a slightly different angle.
Yeah, from our angle, really, the biggest thing for us is converting those hours when we're not here to productive hours. That's just a game changer for us.
I think we've covered everything, Lyndsey.
We haven't actually covered Brian's dancing, actually. He's been dancing on the
I haven't covered the kiss yet. Should we address the elephant in the room?
That's a different type of podcast. But yeah, the guys have been dancing today, so it shows that they're very happy and excited about the recent installations. So.
And videos coming soon on the MTDCNC platform. So for anyone that's listened to this podcast and you want to look at the applications that we've been discussing, because sometimes it's hard to visualise what we're discussing, the videos will or should be on the MTDCNC platform when this podcast is released. But nothing really left to say from me. I hope our listeners have really enjoyed this podcast. I think that it's been very informative. I think it's like you said, Lyndsey, unbelievable success story, really. I think the proof is in the pudding, and this is one of the most successful stories that I've had the pleasure of reviewing today. So guys, absolute pleasure. For anyone that's listened to this podcast, please comment, subscribe to the podcast, and until next week, the MTD podcast.
Thanks for listening to the MTD podcast. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe and leave a rating and review. Find more episodes on mtdcnc.com.